Maxwell, spotted behind bars, pacing, maybe blowing off a little bit of steam. You see, she just...
Every time you think the Meghan Markle circus can't get any messier, someone lobs another grenade. This time, it's none other than Ghislaine Maxwell.
So, here we go again. Just when you thought Meghan Markle's endless drama couldn't possibly get any darker or more bizarre, along comes Ghislaine Maxwell, of all people. Yes, that Ghislaine dropping bombshell claims that have already sent shockwaves through the press and left Meghan reportedly scrambling. Maxwell, who's still serving her prison sentence for her role in Jeffrey Epstein's depraved empire, has been unusually quiet in recent months. But silence never lasts long in that camp. And now, she's allegedly hinting at evidence that ties Meghan into a very murky chapter of her pre-royal past. Let's just say, if even half of this proves true, Meghan's carefully curated Duchess-turned-girl-boss narrative may be finished.
Maxwell's response to that congressional subpoena seeking her testimony. Her attorneys have just sent a letter to the House Oversight Chair, James Comer, saying initially they were just going to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights, but they say now that they are willing to cooperate if, and this is a huge if, some big demands are met.
Word first broke through leaked prison chatter that Maxwell had been speaking with associates, and in those conversations, a certain document was mentioned. Not your average resume, either. This was described as a file cataloging Meghan's life before Suits, before Harry, before the staged reinvention. According to these whispers, the document paints Meghan less as an ambitious actress trying to climb the Hollywood ladder and more as someone dabbling in adult games and role-play scenes that wealthy men in Epstein's orbit were known to indulge in. The phrase "playing the adult game" is what's reportedly attached to this file. And it's just vague enough to be denied, but just salacious enough to stick. You don't even have to explain it. People's imaginations fill in the rest. Now, naturally, Meghan's defenders have already dismissed it all as a smear campaign, as if the world is conspiring against her. They're calling it baseless, slanderous yet conveniently ignoring the fact that the source here isn't some anonymous Twitter troll, but Ghislaine Maxwell herself. And like it or not, Maxwell was at the center of that entire rotten Epstein network. She knew who was invited, who was mingling in those circles, who brushed up against power and privilege in ways the public was never supposed to know. When someone like her starts pointing fingers, however tainted her credibility, people are going to listen, Evan, if it's through gritted teeth.
To me, and this is why this stuff has to be passed line by line by line. It is riven with clues about the Epstein case.
Completely.
And then things got even murkier. Around the same time Maxwell's whispers surfaced, a U.S. judge suddenly denied the request to release Epstein's grand jury transcripts. The official explanation was to protect the safety and privacy of the victims. Fair enough. But skeptics immediately pointed out the obvious. If there's truly nothing damaging inside, why the frantic effort to keep it sealed? It's the classic nothing to see here move that only makes the public dig deeper, because the timing is too perfect. Maxwell hints at files. Meghan's name starts surfacing, and then bam, the transcripts stay locked away like state secrets. Convenient, isn't it?
Today, it is my biggest shame that I carry around that I will never get rid of. And I'm really, really sad that I brought other girls my age and even younger into a world that...
Now, let's rewind to an overlooked but crucial piece of history. Virginia Giuffre's attorney once publicly stated that Meghan knew Virginia personally. Yes, knew her. That alone is staggering, because it places Meghan not on the fringes of this saga, but right inside the same social orbit. That's why, at one point, Meghan's name even came up in discussion as a potential deposition witness. The lawyer wanted her questioned under oath not for headlines, but because she might have held key information about Prince Andrew's behavior and the broader royal connections to Epstein. Imagine the Duchess of Sussex sitting in a courtroom, being forced to answer direct questions about what she saw, what she heard, and what she chose not to disclose. That's the nightmare scenario Meghan's PR team has been working over time to avoid. And here's the thing. The wording from that attorney wasn't vague. He said Meghan possessed knowledge. Not speculation, not secondhand gossip. Actual information, knowledge that could confirm what Virginia endured. Knowledge that could validate how deep Andrew's ties went. Think about that for a second. Meghan, the woman who built her post-royal brand on authenticity and truth-telling, sitting on explosive knowledge about Epstein's circle. That changes everything.
And the sexual crimes. It was deeply frustrating to sit there and sort of see names of famous, wealthy people. Yes, they were on planes, they knew Jeffrey Epstein, but you kept wondering, well, what else did they know?
Of course, Meghan's supporters are quick to argue that she was just another face in the crowd, another name brushing against high society before fame. But the phrasing used at the time, close companion, was far more pointed. Close companion doesn't sound like a stranger. It implies intimacy, familiarity, access. That's the kind of language lawyers don't throw around lightly unless they're confident they can back it up. And once you start unpacking that, the CV Maxwell claims exists becomes even more plausible. Because if Meghan really was part of those scenes, even on the edges, then her silence over the years hasn't been innocence. It's been omission.
Talking to the DOJ, it's actually kind of annoying. She spoke with the DOJ.
And let's not forget, Meghan doesn't exactly have the cleanest record when it comes to truth-telling. Who could forget the courtroom backtrack over Finding Freedom? Remember when she swore up and down she had nothing to do with the biography? Only for court filings to reveal she and Harry were feeding information to the authors? That little bombshell already proved she's more than capable of lying under oath when it suits her narrative. So if she's ever dragged into this Epstein web under deposition, does anyone seriously think she's suddenly become a beacon of honesty? Please. Meanwhile, all of this couldn't come at a worse time for her so-called rebrand. Meghan has been pushing her lifestyle venture, desperately trying to reinvent herself as some sort of West Coast Gwyneth Paltrow with jam jars and candles. But how exactly do you market pastel-toned empowerment when prison whispers are tying your name to Epstein's depravity and alleged adult roleplay CVs? You don't. The whole thing becomes laughable. You can post as many curated Instagram shots of roses and rustic kitchens as you want. The public isn't seeing Wellness Duchess. They're seeing headlines that scream Epstein connection. And yet, Meghan remains silent. That silence is deafening. No legal threats, no fiery denials, no carefully scripted PR statements about baseless attacks, just silence. Which, let's be honest, only makes people more suspicious. Because when someone like Meghan, who never misses an opportunity to clap back at critics, suddenly goes mute over something this scandalous, it doesn't read as dignified. Restraint, it reads as fear. The broader fallout is also fascinating. Prince Andrew, already disgraced, was advised to brace himself for the potential release of files. That was before the judge shut them down. If Andrew's name was about to be splashed across headlines again, and Meghan's name was tied up in that same web, it's no wonder Buckingham Palace has stayed so conspicuously silent about Meghan. For months now, they don't want to touch her and Harry. Well, poor Harry's stuck between a rock and a very humiliating hard place. He left the royals, burned centuries of tradition, all to protect Meghan only, to now watch her name flirt dangerously close to one of the darkest scandals of our time. If these allegations gain traction, Harry's entire justification for Megxit collapses in on itself. The scariest, part 4 Meghan is this. Even if the CV never surfaces, even if the documents remain hidden, the mere rumor of their existence is enough to damage her permanently. Because perception is everything. Hollywood doesn't want that kind of baggage. Sponsors don't want that kind of heat. And Netflix. They're already looking for excuses to distance themselves from her. After the debacle of her last projects, this might just be the perfect out. So here we are, with Meghan Markle caught in the ugliest rumor storm yet, thanks to a convicted insider with nothing left to lose. Ghislaine Maxwell knew exactly what she was doing when she whispered about Meghan. She didn't need to show the file. She didn't need to prove it. All she had to do was hint. And hint she did. And now Meghan, who once believed she could control every headline, finds herself helpless as her name is dragged into the darkest corners of Epstein's legacy. Reports from insiders suggest Maxwell's lawyers, playing a long game of legal chess, unearthed documents, tapes, and namesies. Names that were never meant to see daylight. And among the swirl of elite figures, whispers of Meghan's proximity to those old circles are creeping louder and louder. We're not talking about a random footnote in some dusty court filing. This is Maxwell allegedly dangling receipts that could alter reputations permanently? Think flight manifests, archived correspondence, encoded entries in journals, the kind of material that makes Buckingham Palace lawyers sit up straight in the middle of the night. Meghan, whose entire brand relies on a carefully manicured image of moral superiority, woke up to headlines connecting her, even if indirectly, to the very scandals she's tried to sidestep. It's like trying to sell organic jam when someone suddenly reveals your kitchen might have been crawling with cockroaches. The optics alone are toxic. And this isn't just speculation whispered in dark corners of conspiracy forums. The press, both tabloids and broadsheets, are circling like sharks. Every journalist worth their salt knows Meghan Markle sells papers. Attach her name to Maxwell's scandal, and suddenly, it isn't just gossip, it's global news. From London to New York, from Sydney to Toronto, the story is everywhere. Meghan's face juxtaposed against Maxwell's mugshot. For Meghan, this isn't just bad press, it's reputational arson. Behind the walls of Montecito, the panic is said to be palpable. Meghan's PR team,